Hello.
All right, it looks like that we are up and rolling. All right, this is Conversations with Myself, a journey of self-discovery. We're going to go with Season 2.
Episode 4.
We're coming down in 3, 2, 1. Hi, everybody. It is Episode 4.
Yeah.
Season 2. I guess I said that backwards. Season 2, Episode 4 of Conversations with Myself.
A journey of self-discovery.
And we're kind of scattered over the past couple of months. I think we kind of touched on this in our last episode, is that we intended, or at least I intended, to do more episodes. Am I boring you already? Already, we're not even like 30 seconds into the podcast and the kid's yawning. I noticed in the last episode you were yawning.
I just yawn a lot.
Got a lot going on in your life, kid. So as I mentioned before, we kind of, I intended to do more episodes, but as the podcast went along, there's just more work involved, and I started putting in pictures, and I started putting in videos, and I noticed that it wasn't just an audio podcast, it was a video podcast, and it kind of slowed me down a little bit. And then along the way, I started up a second podcast, which is called Crossing the Streams. It's a music podcast that I do with my friend Aaron Bevel, and that kind of took off and is doing well. And the corn
Isn't it close to like 1,000 downloads or something?
We passed 1,000 downloads, I think, in less than a month. We're up to 1,800 downloads now.
Wow.
So music, touches on, and to be fair, not that I don't think you care, I heavily promote the other podcasts quite a bit. So me and Aaron are really focused in on that one. And this podcast, literally, you come in, you talk for 30 minutes, and then you're gone. And then, I'm like, well, I got a lot of work to do. So I do put a lot of work into this podcast, but I put in a lot of work on the other one as well.
Yeah.
So that's been keeping me busy, working from home, and, just a lot of other crazy stuff going on. So we haven't had a chance to do as many podcast episodes as we would have liked. So are you trying not to yawn, or did you do that on purpose? I'm boring him.
No, you're not.
So last time we talked, was school, I can't remember, was school canceled the last time we did an episode?
Yes, I think so.
How are you occupying your time? I mean, I know, but for the audience listening, how are you occupying your time during this this time of quarantine?
I've been staying in my room and watching my phone. I've been reading a book. And I've been playing some video games.
So that kind of leads into what we're talking about today. I asked Xavier, I said, if we do another podcast episode, what do you want to talk about? Because it seems like I've been kind of driving the topics. And I said, what do you want to do? And he really liked doing the video game episode. I guess it was in the first season. It's okay, you can yawn. It won't bother me. In the first season, we did a video game episode, and he wanted to do something similar. So he came up with an idea to do something kind of cool for this particular podcast episode. And we'll get into more detail on that in just a second. I do want to say a very special thank you to Ray and Dan from D Sweet Nation. They were kind enough to have me on their podcast. They took some time off because Dan moved to Texas and they weren't able to produce their podcast anymore, but they figured out a way to incorporate Zoom, which a lot of us are using Zoom video chats, and they had me on as their first guest back after their hiatus last Thursday.
Nice.
And Ray is a big fan, Dan is too, of our podcast, and they think you're hilarious for some reason. I don't.
Thank you.
Yeah. So thank you to Dan and Ray for having me on the podcast. And yes, indeed, I've got some cool, refreshing Mountain Dew today. It is. I'll go ahead and plug myself. It's my birthday. We're recording on my birthday.
Yay!
I don't make a big deal out of my birthday. I basically took the day off, and I sat home, and we did this little video game experiment, and we've been playing video games today. So tell them about the idea that you wanted to do for video games.
So I think we talked about something that was kind of similar in the last video, where I would show Dad a movie that I liked, and he would show me a movie that he liked, and we would talk about it on the podcast.
Yeah. We did kind of come up with that concept, and you took that concept and kind of flipped it to video games, right?
Correct.
So what Xavier decided to do, he said, why don't you play one of my video games from contemporary times, and then I'll play one of your video games from back in the 80s and 90s, and then we'll compare notes. And the reason why we're able to do this is why. How can we do this?
So with the Nintendo Online, you can download 2 apps to your Nintendo Switch. One of which will play the Nintendo Entertainment System games, and the other one will play the Super Nintendo Entertainment System games.
Now, it's not all the games. It's like a limited.
Yeah.
But it's the high points. It's got Super Mario 3. It's got Zelda. It's got Tecmo Bowl. I mean, the stuff that I grew up playing.
Yeah.
And
my question is, where is Duck Hunt?
Well, I guess you kind of have to have the gun.
That is a good point. Although I guess they also could use motion controls too, since you can use motion controls to guide.
Let's not go down a Duck Hunt rabbit hole. No pun intended, I guess. So what we decided to do is I picked out a game from the NES system, and he picked out a game from the Nintendo Switch. And earlier today, he played the game that I picked out, and I played the game that he picked out. And basically what we're going to do is kind of compare notes, and we're still going to get back to our old format of asking questions and trying to understand why you do certain things on these old gaming systems, which I think this is going to be a lot of fun, because the game that I picked out, watching Xavier play it, was hilarious because he was not good at it. But of course, he'd never played it before, and I was really good at the game that he picked out for me, but I was on the super easy level. So I'll go ahead. Once you tell him the game that I picked out for you.
The game that he picked out for me was Punchout.
Now, back when I was your age, it was called Mike Tyson's Punchout. You are familiar with Mike Tyson, right?
Only from Punchout, honestly.
So he was a famous boxer back in the 80s and early 90s. The man could not be beaten. His punches just knocked everybody out. And then I think it was in 1990, he overlooked Buster Douglas, and Buster Douglas knocked him out. He'd never been knocked down before like that. And then Mike Tyson's career just kind of like went haywire. And I think they took his name off the video game shortly thereafter. But when I was growing up, it was called Mike Tyson's Punch-Out.
I think I heard something where I don't even think that Mike Tyson could beat his video game self in Punch-Out.
It was very difficult. I think I got past a lot of the boxers, but I don't think I ever got to Mike Tyson. I did actually, but I got there using a cheat code. Yeah, and you can still, I think, probably put cheat codes in.
I think like when I went, like I looked at continue and it had a password screen.
And I think I can probably look up some of those cheat codes. And I can probably get us to the main guy. It's not Mike Tyson anymore. It's Mr. Dream.
Yeah. By the way, do you know if Mr. Dream and Mike Tyson have like the same skill level?
I've never played Mr. Dream before. I have no idea. So maybe we can find some cheat codes and play that later.
Yeah.
So going into this NES game, what did you think about the Punch-Out graphics? Were you confused about how to play?
Like, I think I tried to play it once or twice, but I didn't understand what I was supposed to do. Probably because, well, I hadn't played it. I've only played it once or twice, so
it was kind of foreign to you a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit.
You started out as Mac, and then I can't remember what the coach's name is. He looks like Stanley from The Office.
John something?
I can't remember. So it's still basically the same. The only difference is that Mike Tyson isn't a part of it. The same cast of characters. You played Glass Joe, and I basically told you, I was trying to tell you how to beat Glass Joe, because he's the easiest guy. He's called Glass Joe because basically it's a play off of Glass Jaw. He's easily beatable. And even in the cutscenes, he's saying, listen, I want to retire and I don't want to do this anymore. Yeah. So when you first went against Glass Joe, how did you feel the handling of the controller, and was it hard to get a feel for how to fight in this game?
It was kind of hard to like have such quick responses to it. Do you know what I mean? Because
if I didn't give you like a heads up on things, you wouldn't have figured that out, or would you have eventually?
Like, I might have eventually, but I don't know if I would have figured it out as quick as I did. You know.
So what did you find was the hardest part about playing a video game like this that you've never played before?
You mean like Punch-Out specifically?
Yes.
Or probably trying to dodge it.
Yeah, because I was kind of, and if you're watching on YouTube, I'm going to put up some B-roll of Xavier actually playing the game, and I'm back there with the video camera going, all right, when he lights up, that means he's going to hit you, so dodge now, and when you get a star, you can do like a super punch. Now, I will say, I told Xavier to hit the select button, and to use a star, you actually have to use the start button. So I apologize for that. So how did you do against Glass Joe your first time out?
I lost.
He lost. Did he knock you out, or was it a TKO?
I think it was a TKO, if I'm not mistaken.
And before this, you didn't know what a TKO was.
I thought it meant total knockout or something.
Well, it's the technical term, again, coincidentally, is technical knockout. So if you get knocked down 3 times in one round, in Punchout it was, and I guess in regular boxing too, it's a technical knockout where they stop the fight. So you knocked Glass Joe down a couple of times. I think you actually lost in the 3rd round.
Yeah.
Because you were really getting into it. And then I decided, okay, let me try to beat Glass Joe. And so I took over the controls. And how did I do against Glass Joe?
You beat him. Was it in the 2nd round, I think?
It was early in the 2nd round.
Yeah.
I remember, well, once I figured out to use the star and hit the start button and use like the super punch, and I kept telling you, I'm like, when they light up, they come towards you, you got to dodge and not so much, cover yourself, just move out of the way. And once they punch and then you move out of the way, then that's when you go in and you start just hitting them and popping them. And you like the fact in the cut scene of how they looked when they were talking back and forth, right?
Yeah, I thought that, well, what would happen if you didn't get hit in the 1st round? Like, would he still have all those bruises, or did it depend on how many times you got hit?
Because when you were playing, Glass Joe he was hitting you in the face quite a bit. So in those cut scenes, you had like your eye was all, folded over, swollen, yeah. So I took over, I beat Glass Joe, and then I went on to... I can't remember. He's a German guy. Was the one that came in 2nd. We'll have to go back and play it again tonight.
Yeah.
But I think I got it in the 2nd round, and I turned it over to you, and I said, "All right, play this guy." And so, did it get easier knowing once you figured out some of the things that once I was kind of coaching you, like boxing coaching you from the sidelines?
Yeah, it was pretty easy, but then I got hit 3 times in a row, and then I got a TKO.
Yeah,
until I was...
Wait. So you got knocked out by this German boxer, and I can't remember his name. So you got knocked out. So Xavier loses, right?
Sorry.
He's done. He's knocked out. He's finished. So in my day, when you got knocked out in Punchout, you were done. You had to go and you had to start back over. So on this Nintendo Switch version, where you can play classic NES games, he takes the controller and he says, "Hey, Dad, wait just 1 second," and then tell him what happens.
So I pressed the L and R buttons, or I don't know, and then I go back in time in the game, and I go back to when I wasn't knocked out.
Yeah, so basically he rewinds the game to when he still had enough power to fight the guy, and I guess you could, in theory, still win the match, win the fights because you rewound the thing. That's what's wrong with kids today. They don't know what it's like.
That's actually how I beat Mario Bros. On there.
See, they're rewinding and cheating. That's cheating. When I fell off a cliff in Mario, I didn't have a checkpoint. Now, eventually I did, but the first Mario Brothers, I didn't because I had to go back to the beginning. So this is terrible. This is teaching the kids.
Hey, in my defense, it's not even a cheat code. Nintendo gives you that.
Yeah, Nintendo, you're making kids soft. So overall...
by the way, Nintendo, I'll gladly take a sponsorship for this video.
Yeah, good luck with that. So was it Punchout kind of too elementary for you? Did you find it challenging? Apparently not, because you can rewind time. Did you find it challenging, or... did it interest you, or was it something you would play again?
Yeah, it's probably something I would play again. It's probably something that I would try I would probably try and 100% like I did with Mario.
I got to tell you, like when I got Mike Tyson's Punchout, This is a game that I played over and over and over again because you had to figure out, once you advanced past each boxer, you had to figure out what their specialty was and how to avoid their specialty punches. Like King Hippo took me forever. We didn't have YouTube where we could figure these things out. Now, we did have the Nintendo Power magazine. They gave you some cheats. But like on some of your games, you watch YouTube videos to get help, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Do you do that a lot before you play the games?
Like if I don't have the game and I think that a game looks cool, yeah, I might, I probably would.
Because you've watched these playthroughs where people play the whole game. That doesn't take the suspense out?
No, not like, here's, like, it's like, as a good example for you, it's like going to a concert.
Okay.
Yeah, like, it's fun to listen to other people play songs that you would like to play yourself.
Okay.
And then when you hear people playing those songs, you since you like how it sounded, you would play it yourself.
So I appreciate that you're relating to my self-interest here. So it's almost like if I'm going to go see Pearl Jam on tour, and they're going to come to my town in 2 weeks, I'm watching videos of some of their concerts from where they played in other cities before they get to my city.
Exactly, yeah.
Look at that. We're relating to each other. We're having a conversation generation to generation and relating to each other like that. So I liked going back in time and playing Punchout. I still have a hard time calling it Punchout. It's Mike Tyson's Punchout. I always call it that.
I think that they came out with a sequel to that on the Wii, if I'm not mistaken.
I have no idea. I can't even remember that. Have you played any of the other classic NES games? I know, like the Mario ones you have.
I've played a couple. Like it was like River City Ransom, I think I played.
That sounds from something like that. Sounds familiar.
I tried to play Excite Bike.
Now Excite Bike is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, I guess we'll get into this when we talk about the game that you picked out for me, is you kept calling it, these things are called hit points, right?
Yeah.
So what's funny is on the other podcast I do, Crossing the Streams, we featured a band out of Nashville. They're a bluegrass band. They're called the Hit Points, and they do bluegrass covers of video game songs. Cool. And so I thought that was kind of cool that they're named after an actual event that happens in a video game. Hit points. That means like when you get hit, that your points decline, right?
Yeah.
All right. So we got through Punch-Out. I had a ton of nostalgia playing Punch-Outs. So now we get to the Nintendo Switch. I must point out the controller for the Switch. He
does not like the controller.
When you play as one person, it's much easier to function. And even the grip that I had on the controller, one of the sides kept slipping out, and it was hard to keep it in the I guess it was the left one kept slipping out, and it was hard to maneuver it. That's one downside. And then when we started playing some other games on the Switch, if they're two-person games, you have to flip them sideways, and these controllers, they're tiny. My fingers, like I have big hands, but my hand, and I'm trying to push these buttons. I kept telling Xavier, I was like, I'm getting carpal tunnel playing these games. But you can buy a bigger controller, right?
Yes, there is a thing that's a pro controller where it's like a Xbox controller, for example. Like It's like one of those controllers.
I liken this to my grandparents played RC Pro-Am with me when I was probably your age, probably 12, 13. And I remember them in my room playing RC Pro-Am, just laughing because the car kept spinning around and they couldn't control it, and they were just having such a good time. That's how I felt, because I'm like, I don't. That's why I don't play video games. I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing here. I can't. There's a left one, there's a right one, there's an X, there's a Y, and how do you keep up with all the buttons? I had A, B, select, and start when I was a kid.
It just kind of becomes second nature, like whenever you've been playing it for a while. Like it's like a sixth sense.
I guess so. It's too much for me to. And then to boot, the buttons are tiny. Man, I'll put up a picture of what they look like if you're watching on YouTube. It's very, very tiny. Okay, so I'll let you inform the folks of what you picked out for me to play.
So since Dad picked a fighting game, Punch-Out, I decided to pick Super Smash Bros. Ultimate.
And why did you pick that particular one?
Well, like I said, because it was a fighting game, and I just figured that you'd like to play it.
Tell them a little bit about because a lot of folks, I didn't even realize what Super Smash Bros. I'm saying that to be nice. He calls it Bros. Even Super Mario Brothers, he calls it Super Mario Bros. And I want to slap him every time he says that. It's Super Mario Brothers, and it's Super Smash Brothers, but he says Bros. So tell him a little bit about what the game actually is.
So it's basically a game that is about tons of Nintendo and other third-party characters having a battle together.
So it's everybody in the Nintendo series, right?
A lot of Nintendo series, yeah.
So we're talking like Mario and who else?
There's Mario, Kirby, Samus, Link.
From Zelda, yeah.
Donkey Kong. I don't really like him because none of his things have to do with the series. It's just he has big hands.
It's like me. I got big hands. So what's the ultimate goal in this game?
It's basically it's kind of like Mario. In most games, it's like Mario Party. You're supposed to just have fun, play with some friends, maybe play with some CPUs and just have a good time.
Again, Nintendo, you're making kids soft. It's just about having fun, playing with friends. It's not getting to the end, completing a mission, because that's what Mario Brothers was about.
But
you had to get to the other castle because that's where the Princess Peach was, or whoever the princess was.
In a lot of games, there is an adventure mode where you go around a big world and try and save the world, like in Mario Bros.
But if you
save
die,
the princess.
But if you die, you still come back, right?
Yes, but you have to do the whole battle all over again.
I got 3 lives, and that was it, man. 3 lives, and if I spent those, then I had to start over. See, Nintendo, I think that they're the problem. So Disney's number 1 problem, and then Nintendo's number 2. Just kidding, guys. We give you all of our money. Okay, so you asked me what skill level I wanted to play on, and what did I decide to go with?
So there was hard, normal, easy, and very easy. I figured that he would either want to play on easy or maybe even normal, because that would be difficult and would make Nintendo not be that bad, because you would have to retry the level every single time. He chose very easy.
Went with very easy. I didn't know what I was getting into, so I wanted to at least, I want to see who I was going to fight and how I was going to do. And I got to say, on very easy, it was very easy because I start out with Kirby, and then I go around and you do these little battles, right? So you're just on a map.
Also, fun fact, I think the reason that it's Kirby is because the same person who made Super Smash Bros. Is also the same one who made Kirby.
Oh, so it's all tied in. It's nepotism. I see. I see where we're going there. So you start out as Kirby, and you're just on this map, and you're going around, and then you just go from place to place, and you fight battles, right?
Correct.
And then you start out with a main fighter, but then you can also have what are called spirits.
Correct.
And the spirits do what?
So the spirits give you more, like the primary spirits. They give you more space for other spirits. I think they have an effect of their own, and then they have like a different type, which would be like rock, paper, or scissors. And then there's a neutral one, which isn't good against anything, but isn't bad against anything either.
So, and who are my spirits?
Well, I know that you had an Eevee.
Okay. What game is Eevee from?
Pokemon.
Okay.
You had a Pikachu.
Pikachu, that one I knew.
And then you had a Guardian from The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, which I'll probably show you later.
Okay. And then, so I start out and I go around and I hit all these spots and I'm battling people, and then I get to where I'm battling Mario. So I actually face Mario. He's my villain that I'm fighting against him, right?
Well, technically you're fighting against him a lot in the game, but you're fighting against the real Mario, yes.
And then when I defeated Mario, and he became a fighter that I could take on the persona of, right?
Correct.
And you can do that throughout the game.
Yes, there are multiple places where you can get almost every character, if I'm if I'm not mistaken.
So how far in the game have you gotten in Super Smash Brothers?
In the game, I was able to get the main person that I fight with in the game, and then I'm in like the second world. Like there are two worlds there, and I'm in the second world right now.
So which skill level are you playing on your own?
Easy.
And that's a step up from what I did, right?
Correct.
Is there only one video game of this one, or have they made a sequel or anything like that?
What do you mean?
So is there like Super Smash Brothers 2 or?
This is actually the newest part of the game. There's the first one was for the N64. Then the one that a lot of people love, Super Smash Bros. Melee, and then there was one on the Wii, and then there's one for the Wii U and the 3DS. You want to know what those are called?
What?
Super Smash Bros. For the Wii U and 3DS.
Awesome. So did they have the same storyline, the same premise?
Not the same storyline,
But I mean the same idea of you're going around and you're using all the characters from Nintendo.
Kind of. The one that actually had a storyline was Brawl. The other ones have another mode called Classic Mode, where you battle different CPUs.
And so, which out of the ones? How many of those have you played?
I've only played Ultimate as of now.
Okay, which one do you like out of the bunch then?
Ultimate.
Ultimate. Did you watch a lot of videos for this? How did these video games don't come with instructions? A lot of them don't anyway that I know. So do you go to YouTube and you watch videos for help or?
For some of the puzzles, yes, but for a lot of them, I also just have a tutorial for it.
Okay, so what type of games do you enjoy playing the most? Do you like these type of games, or do you like the Minecraft building kind of stuff? Or does it go in spurts?
Kind of goes in spurts.
Because I noticed here a couple days ago, you pulled out the Nintendo Wii. You wanted to hook up the Nintendo Wii. Is there a reason why you want to go back to the old Nintendo Wii games?
Like I was just the reason that I wanted to get that back out was that I was just kind of feeling nostalgic for my first video game console, and I was trying to put together like my collection of video games.
So, is there a particular game on that system that you wanted to play?
I was kind of thinking about playing Super Mario Party 8 or New Super Mario Bros. Wii. I
will say we played Mario Kart and Super Mario Party, right?
Correct.
On the Switch. And again, the controller for Mario Kart was so hard to control the cart because the controller, again, is real tiny. But I love this Super Mario Party. We used to play that on the Wii all the time, and it's basically you just go around this board and you try to collect stars and you play mini games, and we had a lot of fun. We played that this morning and played it last night, and you beat me both times.
Yeah, like I made a big comeback this time.
And I played your mother in Mario Kart, and of course my goal in life is to beat your mother in every game that we play. Usually I'm victorious in that, but this time we tied. We were in fourth place, the exact same points. So we did not have a runoff. But it was fun playing these video games. Are there ones that you want to go back to? I know, like you said, with the Wii, it's nostalgia for you. Going back and playing NES or Super NES, those kinds of things are nostalgic for me. I can sit there and play Tecmo Bowl and Super Tecmo Bowl. You've heard me talk about that, haven't you?
Yeah.
And I noticed that you've played some of the emulators, right?
Yeah, I've played a couple of the emulators.
Now, if you guys don't know what that is, I'm sure most of you do, but emulators, you can go online and they have these websites where you can play all these NES games and even Game Boy games online. They've got all the catalogs of all the games that you can play. And what do you play online?
Most times I usually play like Pokemon Emerald because it's like a old version of a game, my first ever Pokemon game.
And which platform do you play that on?
You mean my first ever
Which gaming system do you play that game on, the emulator?
The Game Boy Advance.
Yeah, and you like the old Game Boy, the black and white one, don't you?
Yes, I do. I have your old Game Boy. The only thing is
it doesn't work anymore, does it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I got the Game Boy in 1991, I want to say. So
I
it's
think
a
that's-
tad old.
I think the thing is that it just doesn't have any batteries.
Well, we can alleviate that problem.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it's like
The-
30 years old, so
yeah.
it shouldn't work,
Yeah. It is one of the only games that every single game can have impossible mode. You wanna know why?
Why is that?
Because you know that little dial that lets you change the color.
Oh, yeah,
can turn
with the
it-
screen, because it was in black and white.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that. This was enlightening for me, playing your games. Again, I felt like my grandparents playing RC Pro-Am. I don't know what I'm doing. I wish there are some people out there, like my friend Aaron that I do my podcast with. He plays Call of Duty, and there are people out there that they really, at my age, they still play video games to get into it. I wish I did. I just, A, I don't have the time, and B, I'm just lost when I'm playing this stuff now. I used to pick up video games and just go full force, and I knew everything about them, and now I'm just completely lost. Now I'm like an adult.
Who knows? Maybe when I'm your age, whenever my kid's asking me to play video games with him, I'm lost because I have to touch this one thing and then press this one other thing.
When you're my age, you'd be like, I have to use my mind. I have to hit A and B in my mind. There's no controllers anymore. So
Yeah.
watch this episode when you're 43, which I'm officially 43 today. When you're 43, and then you'll see how I feel.
Sounds good.
All right. I do want to say a special thank you to Xavier. I got up this morning on my birthday, and I want you to tell them what you made me for my birthday, because it's pretty awesome. It involves video games. That's why I'm mentioning it.
So what I made for my dad's birthday was I was playing Mario Maker for a little while.
Explain a little bit about what Mario Maker is.
Basically, as a dumbed down version, you can create just about any Mario game that you want to.
You can build your own Mario world. I would have loved to have had this back in 1989.
Yeah. So anyway, what I made for Dad was I basically made his life in Mario Maker.
My life story using which Mario version?
I used his favorite Mario game, Super Mario Bros. 3.
3. I love Mario Brothers 3. And he used, to the best of his ability, using what he had in front of him, like my life story from, starting out, going to college, meeting Mandy, getting married, playing guitar. He used all these things, very creative, very thoughtful, and I got to play through my life story using Mario Brothers. And then at the tail end, what did it say?
It said, "Thank you, Dad. Happy birthday."
How did it say that, though?
With coins.
It was written out in coins. It was the coolest thing. So I got to play my life story through Super Mario Maker. I'll put some video of that up so you guys can see what that looks like. But that was, like I said, I'm not big on birthdays. I don't like gifts. I appreciate anyone that gives me gifts. But your birthday's always the big one. Mandy's birthday, I just kind of let this day slide by. But seeing that this morning was pretty awesome. So thank you for that. Thank you, Mandy, for my Billie Jean Davy T-shirts from The Legend of Billie Jean. Also, special thanks to my cousin Jason, who got me a birthday shout out from Rusty Griswold from European Vacation using this website called Cameo. Xavier, when it came up last night, I'm freaking out that I got a birthday message from Jason Lively, and Xavier is over here like, who's Jason Lively? I'm like, you just don't understand. It's Rusty Griswold. I was just me and Ray were just talking about Rusty Griswold just last week, and Jason and I I think we went to go see the movie together. We were always talking about Rusty, so it's kind of a big deal. I was trying to equate it to somebody that you like, and I don't know if it would be. I said maybe if it's the Odd Ones Out guy.
Yeah.
Maybe if he called you on. No, he didn't call, but it was like a video message that you could see on your phone. So thanks to Jason for that.
And last night, Mom and Dad went down a rabbit hole looking at that.
Because you can get on this website Cameo, you can get all these different celebrities. You pay them a certain amount of money, and they'll send you or your friend's birthday or anniversary or just anytime messages. And it's crazy, all the celebrities that are on there. I thought about actually offering
Didn't you or Mom say that Jeff Lowe was on there?
Jeff Lowe is on there. Notice we said his first and last name together. I thought about actually offering my services in case anybody wanted me to send out. I'd price them really low, $5 a message, and all.
I actually think you should do that.
I'll think about doing that. This was fun. It was enlightening. We're gonna wrap this up here, and we're gonna go play some more video games. But we want to do a video game episode while I had the day off. I took today off, and we played some video games this morning. Wanted to come in and talk about it and do another podcast episode. And so we've done a video game one before, but this one we actually went and played the games and then came back and talked about them. So did you learn anything specific about the games from my generation?
All I learned is that your games were a lot harder, and Nintendo has softened us up.
I don't think we need to say anything more. I think that is a good life lesson. Back in my day, things were much harder. So yes, that's a great thing to end on today, Xavier. Thank you guys for tuning in so much. We're going to try to do some more episodes. We want to do the movie one. Now, we have watched several movies.
Yes.
Xavier came in and said that, what was the movie that you said you wanted to watch, which I was surprised by?
I forgot.
He forgot. You came in and said something about a guy inheriting a bunch of money?
Yeah, I remember. Forgot what it's called.
A Brewster's Millions.
Brewster's Millions, like I said.
Yeah, so I couldn't find it streaming anywhere, so we rented it on Amazon Prime. Come to find out, it's based on a book or a novel or short story, and
yeah, I think that at least after the quarantine's over, I'm gonna try and find out what that book was called.
Did you like the movie?
Yes, I did. I did like the movie.
Well, we'll save that for another episode. But we also watched The Heavenly Kid. We've been watching a lot of old school movies.
We have been.
So we'll try to do this with movies. Come back with an episode where you watch an older movie and I've watched a lot of your movies. I don't know if there's anything that I haven't watched. I've watched all these crazy movies, but maybe we'll go back and watch a couple of 80s movies and we'll have you give your opinion and your review on it. But this is a good way for us to kind of interact and learn some things about each other. I've learned that these new video games I'm just not good at. I don't have the patience for, and my fingers are too big. So, anything else worth noting before we wrap this one up?
Nope, don't think so.
All right. Seriously, I know you do this to humor me, but this is a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
Dan and Ray were saying, it's fun to watch along, and we hope everyone out there likes to listen along or watch us on YouTube. We just do this for fun. I do it just as a way to kind of interact with you in the hopes that one day when you turn 43, you'll watch this with your kids and say, Dad was right about those controllers. They're crazy hard. So thank you guys for tuning in to Season 2, Episode 4 is the Video Game Challenge episode of Conversations with Myself.
A journey of self-discovery.
Happy birthday, Brent. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.